done. Do you have no code? Is what you're saying?
Yes. Sorry. So for I have not started indexing attestations. I just have a number of people that have been asking about it, and so I made an issue on ecosystems as a placeholder to be like, I should do this, but also I should first need to work out like what actually that means. That's basically all the package managers that have implemented trusted publishing will be recording their, like, when they're doing builds and producing like archives, then they're recording what they did into oh god, what's the thing called? Starts with an S and records in toto attestations, and I can't remember the service. Google runs it. It's just disappeared out of my brain. But they're basically,
I'm sorry, I don't know what it is.
It's a big Merkle tree of signatures and hashes, so it's like you can't, it's kind of tamper proof.
Is it Sigstore?
Sigstore, that's it. Yes, that's what I was thinking of.
So
I'll be recording, like fetching from the package managers the lists of attestations, and also fetching them for each individual repository on hosts that support that. Which currently I think is GitHub and at least GitLab.com, that you can say, like, give me the attestations for this thing, which are usually around releases, but can also be like related to individual GitHub, like GitHub action runs can also produce their own attestations. There's lots of kind of different kinds. We don't necessarily care about all of them, but like having them all documented would be good. In toto is kind of like the main one. Again, PyPI has some excellent documentation around their implementation, and some of the others might be a case of like just looking at the API responses from what they have documented to work out what the formats are.
What was the name of the website you mentioned?
Sigstore, SIGSTORE.
.com?
.dev.
.dev. Okay.
Yeah, it's another piece of Google infrastructure that we're all going to rely on for forever.
Or until Google cancel it. That's the normal.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what do you want to do about it? And you want to?
I will basically start a pull request for that with a just, you know, a similar kind of what do we call them? The kind of like analysis file. I don't know if I'll how far I will get, but I will try and have a pull request open by the time we have our next meeting for some kind of like map of what I have found. I think there's only 5 package managers currently support it, so it shouldn't take quite as long.
I found a pull request in the package metadata working group repo called add initial draft of source code URL metadata analysis document. Is that the one you're talking about or something else?
That is the one that I have been working on, which is for the source code URL attribute.
Right.
Yeah. The one I'm currently talking about is my plan to do the next one after this.
Yeah. So this one I was reviewing. I will do the second review today, probably. Yeah, it's pretty long to go right now, but that one is about having a nourishing field to figure out what's the source code used for a particular package. Then I've been working in the license one. I don't have new PR yet. My idea is to finish the the one about the license, and start working in the first recommendation document.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have one of those yet. I will try to
Nope.
make one of those for the license. When we have that, we are going to try out the reaching to package managers after. So I try to go the whole pipeline on one to see
Yeah,
how
I've
it.
held off doing anything around recommendations until you had made like a format, if you will, for how we kind
Okay.
of lay those things out. Also, yeah, it's like watching the feedback loop of like how this will be like seen if you actually approach package manager maintainers and say, here are our recommendations, to see like how well it goes before trying to make more recommendations.
Okay, and then we have issues. We reviewed them in the last meeting. We still have 3 open. So let's see
So
what's here. So this one is the one you're working on,
yeah,
the source code. Then we have this one. This is from Server, right?
Yeah.
Recommended common native metadata keyword for SBOM file links. And then we have the SBOM datasets. What is SBOM datasets?
It's kind of a follow-on. Oh my God! Sorry, these dogs. I'm just going to mute myself for a second.
I love dogs, and we often have snoring or dogs making noises on CHAOSS calls. It's pretty common.
The problem is this one is just winding up the other ones.
Well, I tell you what, that dog, if that's the dog that's making that low noise, that is a heck of a noise to
it's
come from a
not.
dog that's okay.
He's much higher pitched than that.
Okay, yeah, I remember this too. So one thing we were discussing, I think in the last meeting, Salve was not here, is about the scope, because we were looking into the Python specification of the new format for SDist, I think. I don't. Yeah, I think it was SDist. For any native dependency they are going to embed into a package, they define it in the PEP that is going to include an SBOM declaring them, something that currently they don't have. And we wanted to know if you are targeting the same thing or you're thinking about something else.
Not entirely sure what you mean if you were talking to me.
Oh, so Python has now a keyword for defining SBOM. The content of the SBOM is going to be any embedded dependency, any dependency that coming from C, something that is inside the package that is not the package itself. Is that the one you're trying to target, or you're looking into something else?
That's the one I'm trying to target. Yes. If a package supplies an SBOM that describes itself, which would include any rendered in dependencies like you just talked about, or just the regular other metadata that describes the project, for example, contact information or homepage or whatever, which can be later used when generating another SBOM that describes what was installed. For example, if you build and deploy the package, then you want to also have the correct information on the other types of metadata, which you could then fetch from this source type SBOM.
Yeah, so I saw I think it's in Cyclone DX, they have compositional tools. So when you have an SBOM and you create something new, you can directly combine them. So this would be, for example, thinking in, I don't know, C++. If I have this SBOM with all my libraries I'm using, I want to provide a way that when I build my own application, everything else can be composite from the file that will be mentioned there in that particular attribute.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing we want to model. Okay.
But the question here is, say we want to make an overview of what is in use in the complete set of dependency graph, the full dependency graph of some business, of all the applications there. And that those might include dependencies that come from different ecosystems. And the question here is, can we decide on a recommended keyword that we can recommend others to use in order to make it easy to find the name of the SBOM, the file name of the SBOM that comes with a given package. So it's to improve discoverability of relevant SBOMs without necessarily having to know what the key name is in every ecosystem, that you could use third-party tools and reduce complexity. That was the point here, I think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, what I'm thinking is across different package managers, SBOMs, in some package managers, SBOMs cannot be decided at the source code. They need to, you can only decide for the dependencies. Because the source code will get built, and some parts are going to be part of the SBOM, some parts are not going to be part of the SBOM. So it's
there's still fields that are useful and valuable to put in an SBOM, even if it's a source SBOM. Like, who is the author? What is the web page of the? It's likely that these fields already are available in the native metadata file for that package ecosystem. So in a sense, that's a duplication of information. But since we already are looking at SBOMs inside packages, then why not just also allow that? So it's not maybe necessary, but we shouldn't probably not make it difficult to do so if people want to.
No, I completely agree that it's necessary. I think that we need to characterize what it is actually that SBOM properly, because otherwise there is not going to be any interoperability. As soon as if all of them have the same key, but the meaning is completely different, it's going to be impossible to
Yes.
composite. So that's what I think, like, we should maybe look into the different languages, how the SBOM will be meaningful at the level of the package or below, and finding some common ground between them.
What do you mean
Because
below?
yeah, so for example, in C++, I can get SBOM from the libraries that I'm going to use and composite with what I'm using, but my package itself will not be able to have an SBOM with the source because the libraries are going to be decided at compile time.
I don't see that the decision of which libraries you are going to use being a blocker for having SBOMs in the source code. It just, the question whether or not you are using it doesn't affect whether or not the information is there available for use by those who choose to use it. So there's a mismatch.
Yeah,
Maybe I don't understand what you mean here.
What I mean is, like, if I get a binary package, I can tell you what's going to be there.
Right, okay.
But if I get the source, I can tell you all the potential things that could be there.
Yeah, yes. Okay, you're talking about on Debian, for example, you can choose between the binary package or the source package. That's what you're talking about.
For example, if I build something in, let's say a classic example is I need some cryptography library. Yeah. So I will use the headers of OpenSSL. But when I build and distribute, I might use LibreSSL, OpenSSL, or any other variant of OpenSSL that covers the interface. What I'm packaging is not necessarily OpenSSL. So the copyright licenses and all that stuff is not going to be accurate if I show you from the source what I intend. Until you make a real solid distribution. Until you render a distribution, you cannot know my dependencies for real.
Yes.
Some of them you can, but most of them you can't not.
Okay, just for clarification, when I usually talk about this, I make sure to make it clear that dependencies that are not resolved, I call them requirements, just to make it completely clear that we don't know what the end result is. And if they have been resolved, then we call it dependencies because they are on disk and in use. Have been deployed or put in the package dependency resolution graph or whatever.
So it's a runtime dependency, right?
Yeah. Oh, but
not necessarily.
It doesn't have to be runtime because runtime adds the situation where you actually resolve and execute dependencies that are not on disk. You could be dynamic runtime dependencies. That's a thing, sadly. Somebody downloads something and just executes it. That's insane, but it happens. And so you can make it even more complicated when you talk about plugins and stuff like that. Like if you have a framework like WordPress, like what happens then? That's just like, let's not go there. But by calling the unresolved dependencies as requirements, I think that's a good way to not create confusion. So if a C, so let me see if I understand you. If a C library is about to be used, it comes in a source form, either downloaded a tarball or in a source package on Debian, for example. What I'm saying here is there might be an SBOM in the source package in the same way as there might be an SBOM in the Git repo or the tarball that you download that describes the package itself. That's that's called a source SBOM by, I think it was CISA or NIST, one of those US government organizations who tried to create a list of SBOM types. So if you Google SBOM types, then you'll find a nice overview, which seems reasonable. I think there might be something missing there, like they don't talk about distribution at all, for example, but it's still okay. So source SBOMs can contain stuff that, well, right now it's not meaningful to put requirements in there, but talking about where package metadata that are stable and that others can refer to after build, for example, a build SBOM would be something that describes the output of a build. And that deployed SBOM might be different from a build SBOM because the build SBOM might be used to create another package. Like when you repackage something for Debian, then it hasn't actually ended up in the correct place on the file system until you install that package further downstream.
Okay.
All of the situations can be used, but in general, what my mental model here is that at some point you have some metadata that you pass along to the next step in the sequence of events that happens throughout the supply chain, like when you write the source, when you distribute it, when you use the source during repackaging, and when you deploy this package later into a container. That would mean there would be probably an SBOM that describes the contents of the container which would refer to something that was supplied by the packager, which would refer to something that would be supplied by the maintainer. So it becomes like a chain of metadata in a sense. Does this make sense? Or do you guys
Yeah.
have a different idea of how things are put together?
It makes sense, and this is what I mean. Like, if we want to specify something like a SBOM keyword, we need to actually have a very concrete thing that needs to be attached to that, like the source SBOM, for example.
Yeah,
And we need to review that.
Source SBOM would be, I think, a good candidate for such a keyword.
And we need to review how it will impact in different package managers, because this is one of those things that seems too sensitive to the language and ecosystem. Like, C is going to behave completely different than JavaScript on this area. That's for sure. So I think it's something worth to dig into, but we need to go and do the research like in any other attribute. The thing I see in other attributes is they seem easier because there is some historical background already. Like, everyone knows what's a license now. Now, if you look into SBOMs, the only one I know about something SBOM so far is Python. And actually, Python only supported starting in 2027. So it's not like we have some package that has it already.
And I believe those SBOMs that they're describing are things where it's kind of automatically generated from part of their build system if they build a wheel, right? It's not like the upstream developer of Python package added SBOM.
The SBOM specification goes to the distribution. It doesn't go in the source. So it actually builds from the other ones. But they are going to have a lot of things going on when they actually implement that, because there is not enough metadata to actually build it. But
yeah, I haven't seen any real like uptake in usage of source SBOMs in ecosystems yet. So if we have examples, then definitely drop them in that issue. But when I went looking, I couldn't find like any. The uptake right now is very much more at the application level than individual like source packages. And as Salve said, like it's going to be a mirror of other things. Like there's also crosswalks from a lot of different other formats right now. So there are multiple libraries in many languages that can convert from, say, a code meta JSON file into a SBOM, an SPDX formatted SBOM. So you wouldn't necessarily need both files. You could just have like, oh, we found a code meta file, we can convert that into an SBOM, or we found a pom.xml or one of these, for the crosswalks that are supported, which are in package manager metadata, is a bit more sparse than some of the other kind of more academic-y kind of file formats that describe, like the copyright holder and the license and things like that. There are crosswalk converters that will just go, oh, I can turn you into a Cyclone DX SBOM. And if you were to go to a maintainer and say, please store this data in 10 different file formats so that we don't need to do the conversion, they're probably going to be quite reluctant to do that unless there's some extra value add in doing it that would otherwise, not be available. I also, we talked about it a bit last week. When I went looking in that data set of SBOM names, was just like, wow, there's so many different ways you can name an SBOM. The SBOM tools would do well to try and come up with more easily detectable file names, like the kind of like Cyclone DX.json or similar.
Yeah, if the SBOM everywhere SIG for in OpenSSF, the Open Source Security Foundation, they wrote a while back a recommendation for what the file names ought to be. And I think it's probably a good thing for us to refer to that document, because it's a sensible file name recommendation. The weakness there is that they do not talk at all about the location of where you should be expected to find that. So if it's in a separate .sbom directory or in the root of the repository or tarball, or if it's in if the tarball contains a subdirectory with the package files, so it can be cleanly unpackaged in a build directory, or if it follows, or if the SBOM is to be shared through other channels, for example, in a .well-known directory as part of a project website or something. Nothing like that is mentioned in that recommendation, and I have asked them several times to come with a recommendation, because they've already done some of that work, but they haven't responded. So sadly.
So
maybe it's worth inviting someone from that group to one of these meetings.
I can mention it to them next time there's a meeting. They usually meet on Tuesdays.
Yeah, I was going to say the company I work is we have people in the how it's called, the steering board in OpenSSF. So probably I can get someone to come here and talk, at least from here, someone from one of the teams I work with. I can do that for next meeting.
To talk about what?
About their recommendations and what they are doing, and if they want to do something else about it.
Okay, I think the most useful thing we could do is to go to the SBOM Everywhere folks and just make a formal request. This is something we need. I already asked them, but if more people make the same sounds so they can recognize that, oh, this is actually a thing that people need, then maybe that's for them a good enough reason to move on it. But as with any other open source efforts, they are like understaffed, and then the amount of calories of attention they have available is very limited. So maybe the thing is, we do something and then ask them to say if they want to publish this under their flag and make something official out of it, or something like that. I don't know.
And what would be exactly what we want them to define? What we want them to?
Well, right now I'm thinking they have file name recommendations for what the SBOM. So the question here: how can we find the SBOMs that are relevant for a package? The keywords are the first thing, so we can look for them in the native metadata. Then, if those don't exist, then we can look for file name conventions, which the SBOM Everywhere group has written something about a few years ago. But from there's no search path that they recommend, and this is where we can come with a proposal. Here are the file locations that we recommend people put their SBOMs in for the different situations and use cases. That could be on a website, in a repository, in a tarball, in a file system after the deployment, or something like that. A list of places where you can look for that recommended file name pattern. And if we have those three things, like an explicit key that we can look for in the native metadata, and a convention for file names, and a place to look for those file names, I think we create a situation where the discoverability of the SBOMs are a lot better. And we have to also keep in mind this is probably in addition to other native ways of making things more discoverable that the different packaging ecosystems might be doing. And there is also a Cyclone DX slash ECMA slash OWASP project to create a service called the Transparency Exchange API, TEA, where they want to make a service that makes it possible to query and immediately get those files that are relevant for a particular release, for example. That could be hosted by anybody who needs to make metadata available in like through an API. So
maybe I should implement that format in ecosystems.
Yeah, the spec is ongoing work, and if you want to throw yourself at that, I think these people would love to hear that somebody is trying to implement it. And right now is a fantastic time to go in there and give them the experiences of how it is to implement some stuff, because they're working towards finishing the spec in such a way that it can become a proper ECMA standard. They have their meetings on Thursday. No, I'll give me a second. I'll need to check with my calendar. On Mondays, maybe.
That is this thing here, isn't it? Transparency Exchange API.
Yes.
Is this what a dependency track uses?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if dependency track will be supporting that with one of the early adopters of that, because Steve Springett's is kind of floating around in that sphere. So yes, eventually I would say, but I don't think right now.
Got about 3 minutes left.
Oh, yes. Also, I just wanted to mention that I already shared it in the Slack. I have been working on a taxonomy for open source projects as just an open data set that people can use. I went looking for one that existed and couldn't find anything. And the idea is that, like, if you want to try and categorize what a project is along a number of different kinds of axes, then this is kind of a nice way of doing it, to kind of like say, what is the domain that this software acts in? What's the role of the software? Who is the audience? What technology is involved? What layer of the stack and what function does it actually provide? I'll share a link I'll add a link to the docs, but it's had some interesting like conversations already around kind of like, oh, we could use this to like, essentially if you just run into a project and be able to go like, can I turn this into fit this schema, then I can use it to compare with other similar projects, or to say like, I have this particular kind of project, but I need it in another language or a different technology. So as Damien said in the chat, seeing if I can get it to align with the categorization in Python might be interesting. I think it will fit fairly well. But also being able to like push it to almost like a discovery level would be amazing, to go like, oh, here's a way of defining this at a project level, so that it can go into GitHub or GitLab and then make like much easier discovery in terms of filtering and other things, or to be able to say like, here are these keywords and they naturally align with these facets in this taxonomy, would make it easy to kind of like find things in across the many different places that are published. So it's a little bit early right now to just kind of be like, oh, this should be pushed into all the package managers as ways of defining these things. But if I can get a few more pieces in place, then it might be like a good demo of something that could be possible. So if there are things you think are missing or use cases that you're interested in, then feel free to drop an issue on that repo as well. Bit of a work in progress though.
Okay, someone has something else? Otherwise, seems like we are done for today.
Yeah, I think we are.
I will work on those 2 PRs, and I will review Andrew's PR. That's my stuff. I think Sean is going to figure out more about us, CHAOSS.
Yeah, I put some notes in the chat that
Yeah.
about the location. Did everybody see that?
Yeah, I saw it.
Where that goes. So that's where it's going to happen. And I tagged Georg in our Slack channel and just told him that this came up in our meeting.
Oh, that's a very cool venue. I went there last year
Yeah, I
for
haven't
an
been there
Open
before.
Collective event. It's not enormous though, so it might be a bit tight on space.
Okay, and then I will talk to Elizabeth about moving our meeting to UTC. And I don't know, Salve, you're going to try to formalize a little more what we want to do with this one, like which part we want to target, or
I can see if I can do, but I would prefer to do this with somebody because my brain is scattered right now with like too many things that are ongoing at the same time.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
if somebody is willing to spend 30 minutes with me so we can together explore the space and take some notes and then submit that to the repo or something, I'd be happy to do that. But
okay, if it is 30 minutes, I can schedule some meeting, I don't know, next week. If we want to do the whole scene, I could work on that partially after I finish the one I'm working now, because I'm still working on the licenses one. But yeah, for a meeting, sure, I can help you on that.
all right, I shared my link for my calendar, so if you can find a time that suits you, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I will book something next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Catch
Okay.
everyone next time.
See ya.